Welcome to Trends with Benefits, a podcast by Van Eck with a forward-looking perspective. We explore new ways of thinking about the markets, investing, work, and life. Here's your host, Ed Lopez.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Trends with Benefits. I am Ed Lopez, and my special guest today is Taylor Schulte, co-founder of the AGC. It's a community for advisors, host of Stay Wealthy podcast, and host of Experiments in Advisor Marketing podcast. Taylor, you seem like a busy guy, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a few things going on in my life, but I seem to kind of thrive in the chaos, and I appreciate you having me on today.
Well, I definitely appreciate your time, given everything that you're doing, and it seems like everything that you're doing related to financial planning and advisors and the business of advice. What in your background, you've demonstrated a passion for this business. Was there a point in your background where you just realized this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I did get really lucky, right? Like a lot of young kids graduating college. I don't know the statistic off the top of my head, but it's something crazy. Like they have 5 different jobs in the first 2 years after graduating. But I got really lucky and just fell into my passion on day one. And I've thought a lot about this question. And my story is similar to a lot of people in our field. When I was 12 years old, my grandfather gave me a single stock as a gift for Christmas. And I shared the story about how I was really disappointed because normally he would, give me cash or a video game or something fun. And that year he gave us a stock certificate, and he just used it as a tool to teach us grandkids about money and investing and dividends. And he taught us how to look up the stock in the newspaper. And so it was just a really impactful experience. That stock actually ended up doing really, really well. And it helped me buy my first home. So it truly was impactful on my life, not just my career. But I don't know, just kind of set the stage for this passion in finance. The thing is, though, is that I didn't really know what being a financial advisor was. I knew I wanted to do something in finance, but unlike a lot of the students graduating college today that I talked to, I didn't know anything about broker dealers and wirehouses and fiduciary and RIAs. I just kind of got thrown into the fire. So on day one, when I graduated school, I had a job lined up at Morgan Stanley. And, I took my exams and I was thrown into the fire, and that was it. And again, just very thankful that I was able to find my passion on day one.
And so what was the stock that your grandfather gave you?
So my grandfather was in the medical device business. He was an entrepreneur as well. He's actually came from Germany. He was a watchmaker in Germany. So he had these fine technical skills from watchmaking, which he applied to the medical device world. And so he had some business connections with a company called Medtronic, which we all know. And that company has done very, very well over a long period of time.
And so you mentioned he was an entrepreneur. I was going to ask you about that because you have since left Morgan Stanley, started your own business. Did you come from a family of entrepreneurs? Were your parents also? And kind of what was the thought process around launching a business?
Well, it's funny, my mother is a dental hygienist, or she was. My father is a retired captain for Southwest Airlines. So he was a pilot, blue collar job. But both of my grandfathers were entrepreneurs. My grandfather on my mother's side was an orthodontist, owned his own practice, did very well. And then my other grandfather, who I just spoke of, came from Germany here on a boat, and kind of like me, though, in a way, just kind of fell into entrepreneurship and fell into his career. He just kind of got lucky and met the right people at the right time. And he had the right skills to complement some of the things that they were trying to do. And kind of the rest was history. But I have noticed that, or, in the past, when I was making some of these decisions to start my own business, I noticed that I had this kind of entrepreneurial desire inside of me. I just was getting really tired of being told no by my employers and having to climb my way to yes. And as you might know, and as some people might find out, I kind of a creative mind. I like to try different things and do things a little bit differently. And I just felt really trapped and confined working for other people. And so, I just had this kind of entrepreneurial fire inside of me. And when I started my firm, I didn't have kids at the time. I was married, and we had 2 incomes. So it was just kind of a now or never thing. It felt like, if I don't try this now, I don't know when I'm going to have a chance. And so I went for it.
Were you hesitant in any way? Or, what was it that really drove you to want to start that business? Were you looking to try to carve out a different focus, or did you identify a focus in the marketplace that you could serve?
Yeah, I mean, I was scared to death. One of my early mentors said, "Just hold your nose and jump." Like that was their best advice. So I was absolutely scared to death. But, I was also really fortunate. Again, my wife worked, and so that gave me a lot of comfort in making this decision. I truly, truly would not be where I'm at today without her supporting a lot of these decisions that I made. I think a lot of people go to start their own company or firm because they think that they can make more money, right? I can have more control over my expenses and have a higher profit margin, all that stuff. And that really wasn't my reason for doing it. I wanted to get creative and do things a little bit differently, both from like a client service aspect, but also from a marketing aspect. This was 6 or 7 years ago, and I noticed that financial advisors are really bad at marketing. And there's a lot of great firms in town or around the country, but they're not very good at marketing. So if you just do a little bit of marketing, or you're good at it, or you spend some time and resources on it, you can actually stand out fairly easily in our industry, which is very different from something like the legal world, for instance, where a personal injury attorney has to spend like $30,000 a month on Google ads just to stand out from competitors. And that just isn't the case still today for our industry. So that got me really excited about having my own firm and being able to do things differently to stand out and get visibility and find people that I can help and work with and grow my firm. And I think that creating a firm and a platform where our clients truly come first. So building a fiduciary focused firm where we truly act in our clients' best interests. We don't sell products in return for a commission. Clients pay us a transparent fee in return for our services. And for me, just getting rid of all those conflicts of interest and being able to be a fiduciary to my clients and just do really, really good work for them really meant a lot.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. When you talked about launching your own business, you talked about wanting to be a little bit more creative on the marketing side of things. Like, what types of strategies have you used to build your business, and what has resonated with your particular demographic?
Yeah, I mean, really, really basic stuff. And back when I started my firm in 2014, most advisor websites were just terrible, right? Nobody put money into building a nice website. Nobody thought a website mattered. A lot of clients were coming from organic channels like referrals from existing clients or CPAs or attorneys or seminars, things like that. And so a lot of advisors discounted their online presence and their website. And so one of the things I did out of the gates was go and spend, I don't know, $10,000 or $12,000 hiring a creative branding and marketing agency to help me build a brand that looked a little bit different, that had a really nice website, which I believe is our storefront, and then started to learn about how to build an organic visibility online, meaning consumers going to Google, searching for a financial advisor, and we come up, on the first page of Google as an option. And again, because there weren't a lot of advisors kind of going after that channel, that organic SEO, organic search engine optimization, it was fairly easy to gain visibility in what I would call San Diego is a pretty crowded market here. We have, wonderful firms on the RIA side. We have broker dealers all over the place. And, I pretty quickly was able to gain visibility. And I would almost argue that I have one of the most visible firms here in San Diego. And I sit right in the middle of two, multi-billion-dollar firms here. So just building the online presence was really impactful. And for me, I didn't position as like, ooh, I'm going to go out there and just try to get as many clients as possible. I just thought, there's a certain type of client I know I do really good work for, and I want to find more of them and just help more people. As a young financial planner, you just crave to you just want to help people. And so that's really what attracted me to the marketing side of things.
Yeah, definitely. Seems like there's a lot more tools these days. In the early part of my career, I tried my luck at financial planning, financial advice. Shortly after college, the way of getting out there was, renting a hotel room and doing a little seminar and
right,
giving away cookies or something or lunch and what have you. Do you find yourself doing any of that kind of old school stuff too?
It's funny you mentioned that, because for the last 5 or 6 years, I've just gone so deep into the online, let's call it digital marketing world. And I've really neglected some of the more traditional channels. And I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I do think that we should have some sort of a balance. I talk to advisors all the time, and I just say that there are multiple spokes in our marketing wheel. There's not just one single thing that brings clients to our firm. It's 5 or 6 things that we do well and we do on a consistent basis. And I do think 1 or 2 or 3 of those spokes should be some more traditional type marketing methods, right? Whether it is COI marketing or in-person seminars or public speaking. But I do think we should be out and about, shaking hands and meeting with people face to face. I can't hide behind a computer screen all day long. So I kind of caught myself, and I've started to, reconnect in some of those other channels again and build some relationships the old fashioned way.
What part of people's financial life do you think is lacking the most when they seek a financial advisor, or maybe they should seek a financial advisor? What do you tend to find they really need to focus on?
So I think for the demographic we serve, I think tax planning is probably most lacking or in need of the most attention, or maybe there's the most opportunity there. It's just one of those things that you actually, the misconception is you can't control taxes, but that's a misconception. It is one of those things that you do have a lot of control over, and there's a lot of opportunities that people miss. And I don't blame them. Taxes are complicated, and people's eyes glaze over when they look at some of these tax planning strategies. So I don't blame them, but I do think for the demographic we serve, kind of your higher net worth retiree, it's certainly an area that is lacking when they come to us. They know it's important as they transition into retirement. I've talked a number of times on my podcast about how you could be in a higher tax bracket in retirement than as a working professional, and mitigating a lot of that. But I think for most of America, most people's financial lives, I think one of the things that I see that's most lacking, in addition to just saving more money and having better savings habits, is knowing where your money's going and tracking your expenses. And I like to just say that tracking your expenses is different than being put on a budget. I'm not telling you to go put yourself on a budget. I hate budgets. I don't put myself on a budget, but there's something really impactful about just tracking your expenses and knowing where every single penny is going every single month, and just asking yourself, is this where I want to be spending my money? And just knowing that that's where it's going. Knowledge is power. And, you might be okay spending $500 a month on a CrossFit gym because it means a lot to you, but maybe for me, that's not important. And so I think learning to track your expenses and coming up with a system to do that is where a lot of people can really gain some significant ground in their financial life.
Yeah. We've heard that before. Now that's just good common sense and basic planning, I think, there. With regards to tax planning, I'm kind of more curious. You don't sell insurance, but do you advise on insurance policies, or I'm particularly curious about things like index universal life policies and using that as a kind of a tax planning strategy. Do you get into any of that?
Well, number one, yeah, I mean, we advise on insurance policies, and again, we'll help clients secure insurance policies. We just don't get paid to go out there and sell them. We don't want that conflict of interest. So if we think somebody needs an insurance policy or an annuity, we'll make that recommendation and go help them find it. IULs are not something that we use in our practice. As a kind of a blanket statement, I'll just say most people probably don't need an annuity. There are other lower cost strategies to accomplish a similar goal. But there are situations where annuities can certainly make sense. Mitigating taxes in a certain way. For instance, maybe you have an old, crappy, expensive insurance policy and there's significant capital gains in there. And so you don't want to just get rid of that policy and realize a bunch of taxes for no reason. There are some, lower cost annuities or insurance policies that you can transition into, without getting hit with those taxes. So annuities certainly do serve a purpose, and insurance does serve a purpose in the planning world. But I think you have to be really careful because a lot of these things are riddled with fees and a lot of hidden fees that people don't know about. So yeah, they serve a purpose, but in the end, just remember, I mean, annuities are an insurance policy, and you're going to pay for that insurance policy. You don't get something for nothing here. So if something sounds really, really good, you see an advertisement or a commercial for an annuity or an insurance policy, yeah, I mean, you're going to pay for whatever benefits you're getting for that. So in the end of the day, insurance can certainly give you a peace of mind. And if a peace of mind is what you need, it can certainly be a solution.
Do you think that there is a retirement crisis in the U.S. today? And do you think that the Secure Act of 2019 has gone far enough to help people address it?
I mean, For sure, there's a retirement crisis. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but the average account balance for a 401k is very, very small. I forget what it was, something like $30,000 or $50,000 or something like that. So most people absolutely have not saved enough for retirement, and don't have a good handle on their savings and investments and all that stuff. Has the Secure Act gone far enough? Probably not. I don't think the Secure Act is going to make or break someone's retirement. It's not going to save them from bad spending habits or bad investment mistakes or anything like that. Honestly, I've seen it, in the short term here, cause more confusion for most people than anything, trying to make sense of all this. And in some cases, it requires work to identify what impacts you and what doesn't, and then what you need to do about it. In some cases, clients have to go and update trusts just because of some of the new things in the Secure Act. So it's caused some extra work and some extra confusion. There are certainly some benefits to it, but yeah, I don't think it's going to make or break someone's retirement.
So let's talk about your other passion related to this business, which is helping other advisors. There's more competition than ever with robos and fee compression. What do planners need to be doing?
Well, I think they need to be doing more than just managing investments for a fee. That's for sure. And I think most of us know that by now. You've seen a large pivot into the financial planning world, more and more advisors getting their CFP credentials and getting into the world of financial planning. So I think that's obviously a no-brainer. Advisors need to wrap their heads around becoming an expert in solving really specific problems. Again, I think at least for us smaller firms, starting to look more like the legal world, where you wouldn't go to a divorce attorney to help you with a personal injury case. That would seem ridiculous. Just like you wouldn't come to my firm if you're a 30-year-old starting a business. I can't help you. I don't have the expertise to help you. There are a lot of people out there that just don't want the weight of their financial success on their shoulders, and they don't want it on a robot's shoulders either. They want a real person in their life. They want to delegate this stuff. I mean, most of our clients are extremely smart. They can do this stuff on their own. It's just not how they want to spend their time and spend their life. They want to delegate this to somebody they trust, and they want to go and enjoy retirement, enjoy grandkids, and travel and all that good stuff. I could go and do my own taxes, right? I have the knowledge and expertise to do that, but I don't. I'd rather sit on the couch and watch a movie with my kids than go do my taxes. That's just something that I value. I could mow my own lawn, but I don't do that either. So I think robo-advisors certainly serve a purpose and fill a gap in our industry. And they've done a lot of good in putting fee pressure on and getting fees down. And that's certainly a win for consumers. But if you're a comprehensive financial planner that has a real expertise, I can't see how robo-advisors are gonna take you over.
Yeah, I've always thought that robos were just a tool and not necessarily going to replace human beings. I think people at a certain age and level of net worth probably want to talk to somebody about more complicated situations.
That's really true, actually. We hear that a lot from retirees or people thinking about retirement, where they've managed everything themselves up until this point. They've done a good job saving and making money, and maybe they don't have the perfect investment portfolio, but they've done pretty good. And then they realize things are about to get really complex once they transition into retirement, and they need to create withdrawal strategies, and there's tax issues. And then the other thing that we hear too, why these, let's call them do-it-yourself investors, end up hiring us, is that one of the spouses is usually in control of the finances, and the other is not kept in the dark, but just, isn't something that he or she spends time on. And so we hear, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, my husband or my wife would have no idea what's going on, which is why I want a professional in the picture.
Kind of coming back to marketing and helping advisors with their practice, can you talk about some of the different projects you're involved with and helping advisors build their practice and market their practice?
Sure. One of my big recent passions is I started a podcast for financial advisors called Experiments in Advisor Marketing. And I just learned that there's a lot of things that I do here at my firm to, again, help us reach and help more people. And in my own head, I thought, everybody knows this stuff. Maybe they just don't want to, do it, or they don't have the resources to do it. But I started talking about it to some other people, and they're like, "Oh, you got to share some of this." So I started this podcast, and I basically just open up the curtain and share everything that we do at my firm from a marketing aspect to grow the practice and reach and help more people. Everything from little tweaks that we make to our website, the importance of call to action buttons and how to create one, a lot of the lessons in search engine optimization or SEO, specifically local SEO, creating visibility in your market. Last year, I did a snail mail campaign. I was talking about how I went all in on the digital side of things and kind of neglected some of the older school marketing methods. And so I thought, I wonder what it would look like if we ran a snail mail campaign and we got really creative with it. And so I did that, and I shared just all the ins and outs and what these deliverables looked like. I shared everything on the podcast and the results and everything. So it's been a lot of fun to do that podcast. And again, I've been doing it for a year and a half now. And I just love hearing from other advisors and helping them out. If I'm able to help somebody else grow their firm that works with a different demographic, I think that's a win-win for everybody. So yeah, I really, really enjoy the marketing side of things.
That's cool. Yeah, one thing I noticed about advisors and their clients was that sometimes you find your clientele tends to be people you like being around or working with or respond well to you. I mean, do you find that? Like, so that's why maybe you don't compete with every advisor out there. They're going to find clients that are kind of more like them and like their style. And that's just kind of the way it goes.
Absolutely. And it's important to me, and it's important to the potential client that's looking to hire us. And that's why our process for potential clients takes about 4 weeks for somebody to go through, not just because, we want to showcase our value and help them make an informed decision about hiring our firm, but also just to make sure that there's a personality fit, right? I mean, my goal is that if someone hires us, I want them to be a client for life. I don't want to find out in 6 months that we hate each other and we don't work well together. And so through that 4-week process, we're getting to know each other and make sure that there's some real chemistry there. And not just with me either, with the team. If there's somebody on my team that says, I'm not getting a good feeling about this, or, he or she made this comment that didn't make me feel comfortable, whatever, like that's a done deal. Everybody on the team needs to feel comfortable. So personality is really important. And yeah, that's why I don't feel so threatened. They might go meet with 3 other awesome, RIAs, fee only. They all do retirement planning work, but maybe we just have a better chemistry, a better personality fit than the other firms.
By the way, how did that snail mail program do?
It did not do very well. It was my first crack at it. I learned a lot of lessons, and I shared all those lessons with everybody on the podcast. I'm pretty confident that if I did it again and I applied those lessons and did things the right way, I think we'd see some success. So I wouldn't say that snail mail marketing doesn't work, but there are some really important things that you have to take into consideration if you do go about launching a snail mail campaign.
What about strategies that have worked for you that you might recommend to advisors? Has podcasting worked for you and getting broad awareness?
So here's my thing. It doesn't really matter where you produce content. It could be a podcast. It could be a blog. It could be public speaking. It could be a YouTube channel. The most important thing is that you choose one single platform that feels good to you, that's authentic, that's natural, that's energy gaining. Like, I love podcasting. I love doing this with you today. It's energizing. I'm going to, we're going to hang up here and I'm going to feel really good. So when you think about producing content, or you think you want to start a podcast, go and record a few episodes or do a few interviews and just pay attention to how you feel. If it's really, really challenging, you have a headache when you're done, it just didn't feel like it came naturally to you, like maybe that's just not the platform to produce content.
Do you think that advisors need to be active on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, other platforms?
I think it really depends on who your target market is, right? I can promise you, if you have a niche, if you have a primary target market, I promise you they don't live on every single social media platform. They're not on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and TikTok, right? They probably live in one particular area. So our demographic mostly consumes content on Facebook. So from a marketing aspect, we really only put time and energy into Facebook as part of our social media marketing strategy. Now, I use Twitter for other reasons, for personal reasons, and same with LinkedIn, but I'm not expecting, or there's no marketing going on there trying to attract clients. So if you know that your target demographic lives on one of these platforms, absolutely, social media is a fantastic way to reach people, to educate people, to get visibility. But just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, that you're not just somebody at a conference told you that LinkedIn's really working well for them, and so you're going to go start to market on LinkedIn, because your target market may not be on LinkedIn. They may not be consuming content there. Also, it's almost impossible to effectively market on all these different platforms all at the same time. Like, you can't be really good at marketing on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter all at the same time, unless you have a giant team behind you or something. It's just not possible. So, choose one, get really good at it, own it. And, if it's necessary to add another one on in the future, then you can think about doing that. But I think advisors get way too distracted with this stuff, and, they just try to do too much all at once.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know how some people really do it. I see them on Twitter all the time and commenting on everything. And you really have to engage to build your following. And it seems like it takes a lot of time. I'm still trying to work on that for myself, but I can see how that can be kind of distracting for an advisor, also trying to build their practice.
It's so motivating when you really start to master one social media platform and you're getting traction and people are commenting and people are liking. And I mean, that's motivating to continue to build and grow there. But when you're trying to market yourself on 3 or 4 different platforms and you're not getting traction and you're getting frustrated, and that guy I met at the conference who said LinkedIn was working, he's a liar. Like, LinkedIn doesn't work. It's just so I just think getting really focused. I think, again, one of the great books that's out there is Essentialism. If you're having trouble just really getting focused, Essentialism is one of those great books to kind of just hit the reset button and say, where should I really be spending my time?
That's awesome. Another great book recommendation. What is one long-term trend you see playing out over the next year or several years? It can be anything. It could be about what we've been talking about, something about a different industry, something you're passionate about. What's one long-term trend you see?
I don't know if this answers your question or not, but I would just say that, content marketing is a current trend, and I think it will continue to be a trend and be a long-term trend. I don't think it's going anywhere at all, because, again, I don't think it really matters what platform you produce content on. I've said before on the podcast, you could hand write letters and snail mail them to households that match up with your demographic. And if you're good at it and you enjoy doing it and you're consistent with it and you have a good strategy, like, that will work. So I don't think content marketing is going anywhere if it's done in the right way. I think that trend will continue pretty much forever. The platforms may come and go, but the same general approach is never going to change.
And our speed round is called Trend or Fad. I'll mention a few concepts and you can let me know whether you think it's a trend or fad. Day trading, trend or fad?
It's likely a fad. Although it's been around forever, but like the current, like right now with the Dave Portnoys of the world, like it's certainly a fad. People are going to learn some hard lessons soon.
Connected home fitness, trend or fad?
Ooh, gosh, I'm going to call it a trend. I think this stuff is really cool. We've got some stuff going on at our house, and it's pretty motivating. I'm going to call this a trend.
How about ESG, trend or fad?
I think this is a trend and something that will really take hold here and be around for the rest of my life, for sure.
Are you seeing your own clients interested in those kind of strategies?
They're not proactively coming to us. We're starting to have more and more conversations with them, but I think it's just starting to take hold.
Well, this is great. Taylor, thank you so much for joining me today on Trends with Benefits. What's the best way for people to find you? I think we mentioned a few different ideas, podcasts, and your website.
Yeah, really the home base for me is just taylorschulte.com. You can pretty much find everything that I'm doing there, all the different podcasts and stuff. So that's a nice home base for me. So yeah, go to taylorschulte.com, shoot me an email, connect with me. I read and respond to every message I get. I love hearing from other advisors and other people in the industry. So yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out. And Ed, I really appreciate you having me on today.
And yeah, thank you for taking the time out. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Trends with Benefits.